Hey, John here, Chief Motivator at Method 3 Fitness, and I'm back with another digital learning experience. And I'm excited today to be talking about all things flexibility, mobility, and hips with Miss Mira Albert-Bullis. So Mira is not only a partner at Method 3, she's been practicing yoga since '95 and instructing since 2001. So we are thrilled to have her here. Pretty excited to go over some of this stuff, especially with the hips, because this guy has got pretty tight hips. And at Method 3, there's a lot of movements that we do that incorporate your hips. And truth be told, I think you'll notice that out in life, you're using these things quite a bit. So let's chat.
Cool, it's
Great.
True. Thank you so much for having me, John.
So flexibility, mobility. Let's talk about the difference between those.
That's a great question. So flexibility is a muscle's length, and it's the ability of your muscles to lengthen, and specifically in a passive movement.
So that's if I'm like lying on my back and letting my leg drift up, or if I'm, can you give me an example?
So you're laying on your back, you put a strap around your foot, you lengthen your leg, you're stretching out your hamstring, the strap's holding it in place. How far up your leg goes speaks directly to your level of flexibility in your hamstring.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so mobility is a joint's ability to move through its intended range of motion with control, with motor control. And we also want to take into account the quality of the motion, and that, when you tend to have injuries and things like that, it might impede that. When you are very tight, it could impede that. And when you are not strong, when you are lacking strength, that also may limit your mobility.
Got it. Yeah, and I think we see, so that's great. So I hope you guys, if you didn't catch that, press rewind and just listen to it again. But I think that also then can relate to, okay, we get people in here that's training with us that have various, combinations of those, right? I've got some amazing people that are hypermobile almost, and so they don't have enough strength to kind of hold everything where they need to. I've got some people that are strong as all get out, but they're not mobile, right?
Yeah.
They're wound up, right? So I'm like, great, you guys are really strong. You can't move your joints in your body where you should be able to. So it's a delicate balance between those.
It's exactly right. And one of the things you just alluded to is stability. And so stability is your body's ability to resist against a load or a force. And the better your strength and mobility, the more stability you're going to have. And yes, we all have different variations in different parts of our bodies of these different components. So what we want to do ideally is to build a balance of both. If someone has too much flexibility and not enough strength, they're going to be unstable. If someone is super strong but doesn't have the flexibility to balance it out, they're also going to be unstable, and it's going to limit them.
Right, and probably put them at risk for injury.
Put them at risk for injury and hold them back in terms of their performance and their ability to excel.
Lovely. All right, cool. So that being said, let's talk about the main area we're going to discuss and some different options they can do, exercises that will improve these various factors.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So I've noticed at Method 3, we use our hips a lot, just like we do out in the world.
Yes.
One of our staples of our warm-up is the spider stretch. You want to demo that real quick? So you're down near the ground, and you'll bring your foot up, so your hip is in flexion, a little bit of abduction, and a little bit of external rotation. Great, thanks, John. The other thing we do a lot of is squats. So again, it's a similar hip motion where we drop down, and there we go. Our hip is in that same position. Those of you who are trying and playing on the boxes, doing box jumps, you need to be able to get your hips into the same position with core strength. So that's both mobility, strength, and flexibility right there.
Right. Well, yeah, especially because as I'm thinking through the move, you're right. They have to have the ability to do it. As you're jumping, you're trying to actively pull your knees up into that position, right? And then brace yourself, stabilize your body to then land appropriately, right? Soft like a kitty cat is what I always say in class, right? Make sure we're not jamming our foot into that box. So, but it's a learned movement, and it's not just learning the move, it's having your body being able to get into these positions. Not just having the strength, but the stability and flexibility to do so. So Great. All right.
So a little side note.
Yes.
You want to take into account your own body, and that might involve your anatomy and your genetics. Everybody's anatomy is slightly different. And I have students who can squat effortlessly, and I have students, no matter how much they stretch, they will never be able to go into a full super deep squat simply because of the shape of their anatomy, and that's okay. So knowing and understanding that is important. That said, one of the ways to increase your mobility is to both stretch and strengthen, which we do a lot of in here, and specifically to strengthen your body in your end range of motion. So let's play with building up to that a little bit and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you say strengthening in the end range, as we're going through it, can you help show people how we're doing that?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with some dynamic side-to-side lunges. Okay. So place your feet fairly wide apart. I'm going to place supports in front of you that you're going to place your hands on.
All right.
Engage all your core muscles so your spine stays in a neutral position and is supported. And then flex your hips so you come to about 90 degrees. Good. Keep your weight in your heels, bend your knees, and drop your hips down whatever amount is appropriate for you. So at this point, you may be at your end range of motion in this, depending. Begin to shift your weight side to side, bringing your knee over the foot, but not out beyond it. Good. Nice strong core, nice strong legs, hips are down. He's doing a great job of keeping a neutral spine. And then as you begin to warm up here, John, I want you to challenge yourself, and rather than coming up between, see if you can keep yourself down low. So keep your hands on those supports wherever you need them. You can relocate them so that they're in a good spot. So if you notice right now, when John goes to the end of the move, his front hip is in that position that we go into in our spider stretch. It's the same position.
Right.
You're weight bearing. So you're building strength, and you're going just to the end of your hips range of motion before shifting back. You're pressing off, so you're resisting a load. Good. And you're building heat and strength. Nicely done. Come on up. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, that was good. So that's me moving my body through that range of motion myself, using my own strength, pushing off, like you said. Right. Yeah. What do you see in terms of when people are trying to try this on their own? What do you see lacking? What do you see as a miscue for them? Are they rounding the spine?
That's a great question. Yeah. Yes.
Because I see some people, like, I don't know how I looked, but they might have
You looked great.
They might have to be here, holding on to like a tire or
table.
Something.
So someone could start up much higher, Someone could start up much higher with their hands up on something.
Yes.
A table or the back of a chair is a good higher place to be.
Stance maybe not quite as wide, but they're doing the same
so
movement.
Stance not quite as wide. Yep. The other thing I see is that people let their knees go astray. So making sure that your ankle and leg muscles are firmly engaged so that your knee comes over your foot, not beyond, and then keeping weight in the heels. We don't want to shift up onto our toes and shift the weight forward into our kneecaps. We want to keep our heels grounded.
Great.
So that's an active move. A passive move to get the same shape is to take our squat and turn it 90 degrees onto our back for happy baby. So how about you lay down baby. The happy baby? Everybody loves happy baby.
My 2-year-old doesn't do this much anymore, but it was fun to see him do that.
So lay down on your back.
It's a real thing, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Your knees go wide. You're going to turn the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling. And depending on your hip flexibility, you might grab your shins, your ankles, or maybe the outer blade of your feet. That's a great question. When your arms are outside your knees, they limit your external rotation. So you want to bring your biceps inside your knees so that your knees can drop out whatever amount they are comfortable to do. Clasping the ankles, breathing here. You want to invite your tailbone to melt down towards the ground. Typically we kind of curl up into a C there. That's okay, but just know the direction is laying the spine out flat on the ground. We want our head down on the ground If you're really tight and your head's up, consider putting something underneath your head so that you have some support and you're not straining your neck. For those of you who are more flexible, you might take your hands and wrap them around the outer blades of your feet. Yeah, so John can use his nice long arms. And then the question becomes, is he still breathing? So he is. Nice. Soften the face, soften the jaw, and here you are. You're in a beautiful squat. You've just turned it 90 degrees. And this is a lot
of great mobility happening up here.
Yeah, nice. Well done.
Awesome.
Good. To come out of this pose, roll to your side and come on up under your hands and knees so you're safe.
So do you rock there as well? Is that
You absolutely can. Yes.
All right,
yes.
lovely.
So I'm a big fan of listening to what feels good to your body, assuming you're staying within the safety of alignment. So in that case, you get in there and you want to rock a little bit to shift one hip a little deeper, the other hip a little deeper. Definitely do so. Good.
Okay.
You want one last move?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to use...
This feels great, by the way. I hope you guys are following along with this.
We're going to use walk the plank. And this is both an assessment. How am I doing? How far can I go? What have I gained through my stretching and my strengthening? And it's also a huge core strengthening. Our core is where a lot of our stability comes from. And in order to bring our knee up for that box jump, we use our hip flexors and our core.
Right.
So this is called walk the plank.
Okay.
You're going to come into a perfect plank.
Okay, from the floor? Got
Yeah,
it.
on the floor. Hands on the floor. Good. Let's do a hand plank, a high plank.
High plank? Great.
Yeah, high plank. Great. So you're going to engage all of the core muscles so that you keep your shoulders and hips right where they are, and you're going to alternate stepping 1 foot at a time forward outside and step it back. The trick here is, can you do it while keeping your shoulders and hips stabilized in position? Step forward, step back. Yeah, there you go, nicely done. And you'll start to learn and see where you can go right now. And as you increase your mobility in your hips, you'll watch yourself progress and be able to bring your foot a little more forward.
So this is definitely, a level up in terms of cueing, probably in better progression than our spider stretch.
Yes.
Because the spider stretch is allowing those hips
to swing,
to move and sway.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understood. So do you guys notice that difference? If I swing my leg up this way, I can do that, but my hips just dropped.
Yes.
Right? My shoulders have moved and adjusted. And so what Mira's suggesting is, okay, that's not a bad thing to do per se. Again, move the way your body feels good, move through different ranges of motion, but an alternative to really focus on the hips, as you're saying, correct?
Yes.
Is to bring that leg up, but be mindful of...
Yeah. And you may, so you can see how John needed to lift his left hip in order to get his left foot further forward. That's okay. We just notice, oh, that's where I am right now. And as I spoke about, about building strength in end range of motion, that little difference between lifting the hip and getting the foot here versus getting the foot here, that's your end range right there.
Yep.
So for now, my end range is that I get my hip up to here. And as I progress, as we grow our mobility, as we increase our strength and flexibility at the same time, we're going to be able to bring that foot up so the front shin becomes vertical.
That's great. And I think this kind of comes back to also the mindful. I know a lot of us, as we're coming in for workouts or stretching, we're almost just on autopilot through some of this. And we go in, we listen, we do the exercise. But there does seem to be some aspect of mindfulness that you're bringing to your practice, whether it's a yoga practice or whether it's a fitness practice, a workout like you're doing in Method 3. So that you're really being aware of the muscles that are moving, operating, which one should be being used, which one shouldn't be. I think as you're talking about this stretch, the one that comes to mind is when we're on our back pulling the leg up, right, and getting some mobility just in instead of being in a high plank position on our back.
Yes.
Is as people pull this knee up, they allow their hips to just rotate all the way back.
Yes.
And so when they do that, they're not really getting an effective stretch in that same exact high hip and glute area. Right?
Yeah.
So just being mindful, again, same thing as you do this, stretch, neutral spine, you're pulling your knee up, don't lose that neutral spine, whereas many of us just push our low back to the floor. Oh yeah, my flexibility is great. And it's like, well, you're using your hips to help you. You're allowing those to rotate, your pelvis to rotate. So just something that little cue has brought some mindfulness, and I see these light bulbs as people are, if I can throw that out in class on a cool down, it's like, oh yeah. So hopefully you've gotten some of that from Mira today with just a few easy exercises to find where your end ranges of motion are and get your body to consistently start working through new end ranges so that your squats improve, your jumps improve, and then a lot of things will start to improve. So we just scratched the surface here, guys. So there's a lot we can do with shoulders. I know some of us have shoulder issues. There's a lot of great shoulder mobility. We are lucky enough to have Mira come do some yoga with us as a staff here. So, but Mira, if they have any other questions, is there any way they should reach out to you? I know they'll see you maybe in a workout. But,
sure, grab me if you see me here. I'm so happy to help and support you all as you progress through your own personal journey. And you can shoot me an email if you have a question too. And if I don't know the answer, I'm always happy to go and try and find it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John. My pleasure.
So for all things flexibility, mobility in your hips, I hope you enjoyed today's digital learning experience, and we'll see you next time.